Welcome to the Dummy Switch podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, illustrious co-host, Chris and Como. We're here to discuss Springbok Showdown this past weekend.
Yeah.
How are you, Chris?
Yeah, no, I'm good, Courts. How's it going your side, man?
Yeah, no. Everything is everything.
You know what I mean? It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
So
man,
let's get
man.
straight into this game. Prior to the game, I don't know what you were thinking. I wasn't too excited. Then 2 days before kickoff, I started getting excited. I started looking at the gold backline, and it was looking good. It was looking. Before, I thought the combinations were a bit off. I didn't see the balance, but coming into it, I was more assured. That was my first take. I started to see pictures on social media. I saw the gold team's kit, and it was fire. It got me excited. So, even looking at the lineups, just thinking about Nohamba and Vermeulen, those are the things that excited me going into it. I don't know. What about yourself?
Yeah, look, I think for me, I was excited to see the Springbok jersey again, and on TV. I can just imagine what it was like for those guys just being back. I think also just having rugby back it's been good, man. It was nice to see local rugby, and of course, whenever it's the box, you cannot not be excited.
You just start itching. You start getting that block itch.
Yeah, exactly, man. And world champions, and it was good to see. Look, on the day, it was good to see sort of how everything came together. As much as it wasn't a spectacle, but I think for us, for South African rugby,
I felt like it was.
Yeah, from a test match perspective, I think there were it sort of resembled what would happen in a test match, particularly if it's like a first game of the season where it may be tight to the beginning and you have to sort of work it out. You have to work, you have to grind, and we got that. I think we really did. And you mentioned my guy Nohamba. I have a few comments about him. In that I think
let's get into it. Yeah, let's get into the first half. I think let's start with the group. Initial thoughts, first few scrums. The first takeaway I had was that Ox was making De Bruyn look good. He was making him. He was powering that scrum. There were a few comments about De Bruyn dominating, but it was all coming from his side.
Yeah, look, I think for me, I didn't really know who Luan De Bruyn was, to be honest.
Yeah, coming into
I don't think I really paid too much attention to a player like him, but I think he didn't do himself a disservice, and it showed. Look, South Africa's always got a healthy sort of cupboard of forwards. Front row is looking healthy. Even from a lock.
I'm not too sure about that one. You don't think? My takeaways was that we were strong in the number one position, but not so much the three.
Ooh, yeah, true. Especially I think number three is definitely a point of concern, and I think part of that we can attribute that to maybe Trevor not playing because I think he had a positive COVID result, so we don't really know
as well.
Yeah, so our depth, I think our depth at tight head is maybe where we can be slightly concerned. If we had to lose a key number of those guys in that position at the same time, I think we'd find ourselves in a bit of a jam there. But I still think we have the guys to sort of bring it back for us, And Thomas du Toit, when he came on, he did show that, okay, look, he's been around and he knows that he brought that stability at least to that position, So, yeah.
That guy gets folded too often. But anyway, let's move into the backs. The first thing, every time Bentley got the ball, it was just exciting. It was exciting from the onset. Jantjies, there's no point even speaking about Elton Jantjies because to him, he was above this level. He was so comfortable. You could see him. He was jovial. He was joking about. So You know,
Yeah,
he was running the ship. He was running the ship.
yeah, and I think that's what you want to see from your 10. You know, is a confident guy, and considering look, he's been around the block for so long. You know, he's been there, and he's shown that his experience, his maturity as well. You know, he was just he was really in control. You know, and you mentioned Yao Pengle when he was. Look, for me, I'm just happy. I'm happy for that guy. You know, I'm happy for that guy because it's a thing of, you know, with what's been happening with the Kings, you know, like I was saying, I was happy, even though some of those Kings boys did go over to the Cheetahs, but I was just happy for a player like him to get a chance to show what he's got. You know, he was tireless in chasing those
I
balls.
don't think he did anything wrong.
He didn't look out of place for me. You know, as in if you had to say that he had to get picked for a test match, I don't think he would look out of place in a Springbok jersey in a fully capped test match. Yes, you'd say okay, experience at that international level, but I think what he lacks in experience, he brings in his work ethic and just his pace as well, and just his aggression. You know, when he was chasing those balls and the tackles that he was making, you know, you don't miss a tackle. I give that guy, you know, a high marks for that for that game, for his performance, considering he didn't play in that's what is it, Superfan Saturday. He didn't feature, so he hasn't played rugby for a while, and you know, to come in and just, you know, and hang, you know, and really play well, for me, I'll take my hat off to that
The guys
guy.
on that
I'm
team
happy.
were exciting. Lombard as well. He came in. You know, they tried to put a few chips in there. They tried to put him under pressure, but he was calm. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from this whole thing is they wanted to see who was shaky and who had a calm hand under pressure. And Lombard was one of those guys that came away with a steady hand.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. You know, like even if we had to look at it from all the way from, if we specifically looking at the backline from 9 to through to 15 in that starting green backline, you know, I felt Nohamba didn't look out of place at all. That guy looks at home in a Springbok jersey, you know, and you can see he's definitely one for the future, maybe near future, where he's going to get a crack, and I think he'll do well. You know, he just needs to carry that through. Yeah, or even right now, you know, or even right now, he can. I think he looked good, and I think he complimented Yankees well. And what I like about him is that he's got a good kicking game as well, which is, you know, we all know as Springbok fans and South African rugby, the kicking game is a big part of how we play, you know, and he's got that, but he complements that to that speedy service. He's tough, you know, and I like the way, he was harassing Herschel Yankees, you know, he was all over him like a rash. He was just there wherever he touched the ball, he was there, you know, he was putting pressure where it needed to be applied. Yeah, you know, I liked him a lot there. You know, Francis Steyn, there's no use talking about him. We know what he's done. He's been there, he's done that. You know, he's a seasoned campaigner. I felt Wandisile Simelane, he slotted in nicely into that setup, and you can see that, you know, if you a player like that, you put him with guys that are experienced, you know, he can step up to that plate.
I felt like
it
was similar to last week where he slotted in. He didn't make mistakes, but at the same time he wasn't given opportunity. So it's sort of difficult to fault the man.
Yes.
So I'm more on the positive side with that. Early on, there were pressure from both sides, and there were guys that were crumbling under the pressure, and he wasn't one of them. So that's something I can definitely take from, you know, his slotting in there at 13. I think it's much of the same from last week.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, if you look at even we talked about who's this Gianni Lombard. We touched on him as well. I really like the look of that guy. You know, in a Springbok jersey, I can see him slotting in at 15 in a Springbok setup. If we had to talk about right now, maybe not so much as a 10 as yet, even though he plays 10 at the Lions, but he can play both. But at 15, geez, he looked good. You know, like you say, he doesn't look shaken.
I mean, you think of Damian Willemse coming in at a 15, and he wasn't this solid.
He wasn't. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. In terms of the green, I think overall, you know, the better backline, they showed that it was the green backline they showed, you know, and complemented by the green forward pack. And I think the green forward pack, it was expected, because they had those seasoned campaigners in there, and they had a very solid base, in the pack, and you can't really fault those guys, for the effort that they put in. Yeah, I personally had Green to win. I wanted Green to win because Zandile Stick was coaching them, and they had my guy Nohamba in there, so definitely
I
I
felt
was
like
going
it
with
was
Green.
the stronger team, especially you look at the number 8, you look at the back line, you look at Francois Steyn, you look at Janches. I felt like it was picked for them to win.
Yeah.
The way the selections went, I felt like it was picked for them to win, and I felt like they wanted to see Nohamba with Vermeulen, They wanted to see certain players together. And I feel like they got what they wanted, I don't feel like they would be let down looking back at the selections. I think they were good selections.
Yeah. Looking at it now, they definitely were good selections. Mustn't forget a guy like Malcolm Yar as well, because I feel like he also he didn't
Same thing, yeah.
He didn't do badly, for the time that he was on the field as well. I think all around, the wingers on both sides, I felt, look, there wasn't much sort of attacking action, but most of that attacking action did come from Green, with that cross kick from Yankees out to where they look good, man. They look slick and they worked. What I liked about them is that they worked. They did the stuff that we as supporters wouldn't necessarily see. The off the ball work, the organization, getting into position on defense, setting up the structure. Because at the end of the day, is this, as much as yes, it was a Springbok showdown. At the end of the day, I feel like the coaches wanted to see the guys that would be able to fit into the structure, the Springbok structure, seamlessly without, because injuries happen, and we need to know who's the next guy. If you have your top 3 guys, if you have a picking order, if they all are all out, who's the next guy that's going to come in, and can he fit into that system, slot in, and deliver on the baseline requirements, and then of course bring his own sort of X factor game into it, And I felt those guys, particularly in the green backline, they did show it. Of course, the guys out of they just crossed over. Of course, the guys in the gold backline, there were guys that again, you knew what you were going to get from them, like Johan Kreland. I think he looked very good, very comfortable, confident. At 15, and I think we're in a healthy position, from a backline perspective. Even
going back to
a guy like
I just want to say, at the 28-minute mark, I was just grateful Cohen Bosch wasn't on the field. Going back to
oh man, I know. Look, he's a Sharks boy, so I'm always going to defend my Sharks guys, but I know what you're saying. If you're talking about it from a rugby point of view, I completely understand what you're saying, because I don't think at the moment he's right up there to warrant or stake a claim to say, okay, this guy's an international. Not yet. At least not yet. I think he still has a bit of development time that's needed. Even I'd even say even a guy like Damien Willemse, at 10, I think right now he's not there. Right now he's not there, and I don't think 10 at that international stage, I don't think 10 will be his best position. I'd even advocate seeing him at a 12 position that I think he has played before for the junior box, and I think he would be a good sort of inside center, because physically he can match physically. I mean, he was making his tackles against Francois Steyn when they're putting him down his channel, particularly off the line of balls. He was making his one-on-one tackles. So, from a physicality point of view, he's not going to shirk that responsibility. But I just think at 10, he's got too much pressure on himself, and he's just trying to do too much. And I think he'll be better suited at inside center, as opposed to 10 or 15, to be honest, if we're to look at a balanced backline, and you can't ignore his talent. That's the thing. So
you can't. I feel, okay, moving on to that goal team, I feel like he's a man that he's just off form. Some guys just need to play themselves into form. So he's not a lost cause. He's not someone that we're going to write off. I mean, he started, last week as well. You can see. That's why I feel like it's just a form issue,
Yeah.
I felt like he started bright even in this game. He had a little grubber to Speckman, and then things are looking bright, but it went all downhill from there. But I mean, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, look, it happens, and that's the reason why I say I feel inside center may be a better position for him, because he's a guy that you would actually want him in your team, if you had to think, if you had to think a tight game, whether he can be a game breaker. I think he definitely is a game breaker, and even if he's off form, instead of putting him in a key decision-making position like 10, where he would more than likely, at this point in time where he's not on form, feel the pressure, shift him one channel down, and I think he'll be able to sort of grow into it because it's less responsibility for him. If you had to just think about this, a backline with, like now with Pollard injured, Yankees at 12, at 10, and Willems at 12. Let's say Delende, he can't come down because of the rules in the UK and whatever. Let's say he can't come down. I don't think it would be unjustified to have him at 12. If we're looking long term, and let's say France or Spain, we're just thinking, okay, British and Irish Lions. Let's not.
But I mean, I feel like they've backed him and they've wanted him to settle at that 10 position. I mean, I'm not, like I said, the guy is off form. We can't critique guys too much because it's been how many months off rugby.
Yeah.
It was a big step for him where they're like, okay, you're gonna back him at 10. So I mean, we'll see how he goes from here. But I'm not gonna be too critical of him. Like, we know he's also one of those guys where he's shown what he can do.
I think he'll shake it off. Super Rugby Unlocked starts this weekend, so he'll shake it off. He'll shake it off. I think so.
Yeah, maybe 2-3 games in, we'll see.
Yeah, and the youngster Rikus Pretorius as well. Look, he didn't get much.
Yeah, no, he was solid. This is the first time I'm really seeing him, and he looked big, strong, imposing. Back to that thing of who's shaky, who's got the calm hand. He definitely had a calm hand. Almost got that intercept.
Yeah.
There were guys that they imposed themselves on their teammates and on the opposition team. You know what I mean? They're sort of the calming presence. I mean, if you looked, for me, Ori was a major calming presence in that team. I mean, Murat looked a bit. He looked like a junior playing with seniors. Ori, on the other hand, I felt was also imposing, calm. He had a steal with Kitsov. I think they formed a good combination. Even going into the second half, I was very impressed by Ori.
Yeah, look, I think Marvin Ori, I think he's always he's got that attitude, he's got that grunt, and he just seems like he's that hot guy, and he doesn't look like he takes too kindly to losing or being dominated. He wants to always impose himself.
And I mean, the lineouts he was against Schikkerling, and he did really well.
I was about to touch on that to say that I think, particularly from a lineup perspective, that's what I really enjoyed about it, is that you can almost see, the influence of him, of his time at the Bulls, where he was sort of behind guys like Victor Matfield and those guys when they were still at the Bulls, because he was still at the Bulls as well, even though maybe I think he was under 21 or something like that. But best believe they would have spent time together on the training pitch. You would have learned a lot of things around the lineout, and you could see that experience because he was getting up there, he was contesting, and that's something that I think is going to be key for us as a national side going forward, is our ability to contest. Everything's got to be a contest. And we saw that with the guys with the scrums. I felt like the scrums, it was a contest. The lineouts, it was a contest, and that's as they always say, the game is always one up front, and the guys up front, I think they showed that there is that willingness, there is that grunt that we are going to contest. Doesn't matter whether it's our ball or opposition ball, we're always going to look to sort of assert our dominance. And I think that's what I say. I feel like from a pack perspective, we're looking good. I really think that we are looking good. And maybe some people would have wanted to see, free-flowing running rugby and things like that. Fact of the matter is this, in the test matches, we've been to test matches before, we've seen, yes, you may have those days where opposition is maybe not up to par and you're able to run the ball and run circles around them. But in tight games, it's going to be those hard yards that are going to make the difference. The scrum penalties, that key line-up ball, in your opposition 22, where you get up and you contest, and you put yourself in positions to potentially score a try or get a penalty, or by virtue of those win the game. And a guy like
It's
Marvin
that
Orie,
thing they're sorting out. You've got to sort out the pretenders from the contenders. And I feel like he's a contender. And I feel like also when you put him around a guy like Kitsov, it shows what value he can bring. Whereas at the Lions, things aren't not necessarily going as well, and he doesn't have as strong a partner, for him partnering around the field like Kitsov. So I just feel like the combination and the selection as well was very good because it showed what someone like him can do and how much value he can add when he's put with someone, someone around him.
Yeah.
I mean, we can see how sort of Lucanio Arms got nobody around him and what it's doing to him.
Yeah.
So the opposite of that.
That's the thing. And you saw that, I felt like in that gold team up front, yes, guys like Kitsov were there and you don't really see too many leaders outside of the guys that you mentioned, like Kitsov and Marvin Orie, but there really wasn't anybody else that was standing up. I didn't feel. Look, I don't know what the circumstances may be around that, but I didn't feel like a guy like Nizam Kaur. Maybe I expected too much from him, but I didn't see him also sort of G the guys up and sort of try to get them into the game. Even
surprisingly, Arnold Boto was doing that on the other side.
On the other side, I feel like that combination, that loose forward combination in the green team with Botha, Vermeulen, and Kolisi it looked good, man. It looked good, man. Like, you can't argue. Although, look, on the other side, although Van Staden and Carr had, like, early on in the game, they had that steal together where they were both on the ball, got that penalty to get them those 3 points. In that moment, I thought, geez, okay, these guys, it's gonna be a real contest here at the breakdown. But
I thought Van Staden would have had more of an impact.
Yeah, I did expect that, but it didn't happen. They just looked like they dwindled a bit, And even a guy like Noche, I understand, yes, he's a rangy loose forward, the open broken play. But at the end of the day, at test match level, yes, as much as there is room for that kind of loose forward or number 8, we do need a number 8 that's going to assert himself physically. I think a key thing that I'll pick up from there is, I don't know if you saw, I can't remember what minutes it was in the second half, but they were building momentum. They played phase, and they got close to the line, up to the 5-meter line, and he came through great angle, and he was attacking the ball. He got the ball, but then on contact, he lost that possession. And I could not but think to myself, in a key test match, let's say, if we are sort of chasing the game, you need that ball security. Even though, yes, he's putting himself in that position to try and get that go-forward ball. But in a tight game, you need that ball security. So even when the hit does come in, you need a secure number 8 where, even if the team is struggling, that he's going to do. Look, he had some glimpses, but you'd want to see a bit more. You'd want to see a bit more to say, okay, who's my next number 8? If Dwayne Vermeulen is out, who's our next number 8? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then in that instance, then it's easy to say, okay, well, Arno Botha can easily go into number 8 based on what he did on the weekend. I had questions. Look, I did. We
said this guy is your long lost lover returning with no questions asked.
Now we know.
Now we know. We've fallen back in love. Now all your friends are, no, this woman left you and when you were in need.
But we can see the value, and look, you can see the value because he looked good. And it goes back to my thing when I say is that,
what you said about leadership, that was key for me. And I feel like he showed leadership, and I felt like the spirit amongst the green team was very, very good.
Yeah.
It was very evident, especially with there being no crowd. The spirit was very high in that team. And when you go back to leadership, I feel like they were getting it from Geland. But I mean,
Yes.
your 15 is not necessarily in the heat of the action. You need guys closer to the ball that are going to display leadership.
Yeah, true. And I think, look, maybe because the pack was a bit being dominated a bit. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Rondrea, to be honest, because I feel like 2 weekends in a row where he's scrummaging. I don't know what was going on with him there at tight head, because I think pre Gloucester, before he went to the UK, and still at the Lions, he became a Springbok, and look, he was solid, and very few loose heads were pushing him back, but
Him and
yeah,
Sarge, both of them.
yeah,
The takeaway from the first half as well. Initially, the green team were on the ascendancy in the scrum, and I felt like Ox was the one making Luan de Brain look good. Then the ref sort of started catching on what was really going on, and Kitsoff was dominating him on the opposite side, and they started getting more penalties. And that's where I take my takeaway from that first half was we've got two really solid number ones. Number three,
that's true. Number three is questionable, and the other takeaway from that first half is, I think for me, is that the goal team, let's be honest, initially in the opening stands of that game, goal team were putting all the pressure on the green team, and that's where you need your guys, in the decision making positions, your 9s, your 10s, to really sort of to really convert that pressure into points. That's the way I see it in the test match. Because usually, how often have we heard, we just didn't take opportunities, we had the chances, didn't take the chances, and that's sort of what I saw, particularly in that first half.
And at that point, the frustration started kicking in for Willemse.
Yeah, you can't fault the effort. The effort was there, definitely. I mean, Speckman was, like, he was a live wire all the way, even though on attack he didn't have much to do. But in terms of chasing those kicks, on kickoffs, chasing those kickoffs, putting himself in a position to sort of get the ball back, making his one-on-one tackles. Skosan, I felt, there was just that one moment where there was a bit of indecisiveness between him and Geland, maybe perhaps miscommunication. But look, it was good to see him in the Springbok jersey as well. I don't think he also, look, he definitely the gold team wingers definitely rated above the green team wingers definitely rated above the gold team wingers, in that sense, on a overall balance of play perspective. But the effort you can't fault, from I think from both teams all around. And yeah, I just wanted to sort of touch back on what you were saying about Murat. I didn't get a chance to sort of touch on him. I just feel like as well for him, the security aspect at number 4 lock, there's that one more where, they wanted to set up a more, but then they knocked the ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
It's just little nuances like that are key in big test matches, and you want on your own ball, that can't happen, and you don't want that to happen. Look, he's still a youngster. He's going to learn, and for the future, yes, I think he's going to be good for us, but I don't think at the moment he's not quite there, in terms of the international stage. But
I mean, you compare him to a guy that like Lombard, similar class in terms of when they play junior box or whatever. And that's why I go back to the thing of having a calm hand under pressure.
Yeah.
In that instance, he doesn't show it, whereas Lombard did.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk hookers quickly, Coates. I know that's your position, my man. Let's talk hookers. Yeah. What did you make of is it Dylan Richardson? The replacement hooker on the goal team, and Skalk Erasmus. I felt like, when Skara and Mbonambi came off, when those guys came on, I didn't really feel them. I didn't feel them in the game. I didn't say, they didn't jump at me or at my screen and say, hey, these kids, they.
Skalk Erasmus, I think he got a bit lost in the sauce. Didn't see too much of him. Dylan Richardson, he came in, he was a bit imposing, and then he throws a skew line out and everyone's laughing at him. That was, it was a bit heartbreaking. So, I mean,
Yeah, but
you could see his head went down a bit, but
mm,
he has got the presence. He has got the
yeah,
presence. But
okay.
it's just one of those things where, I mean, you can't throw a skew line out. And that was
Yeah,
at the time where things were sort of heating up and it was getting a bit physical, a bit of how's your father, it
yeah.
was getting heated, It was getting heated.
I
These
like
guys
that.
are, they're staying in different hotels. It was starting to show now. Yeah, guys, there's
Yeah,
no more buddy. It's no more, and
they're in
guys
each other's
like
faces.
Elton Janches that, he's secure in his position. To him, a lot of jokes, a lot of laughs. Now it's the guys that are fighting for position. And
Yeah.
at that point, I felt like the gold team were demoralized. The
Mm.
spirit was up in the green team, and you gotta feel. I feel bad for him, but I mean, you just gotta build off of it.
Yeah, true. And I think he will, he'll get better, and I guess we'll see because we need, I think it's important for the national setup to know who the next guys are.
I think we
We know
are a
what we,
bit light in the hooker position.
yeah, because we know what we have in Bongi, we know what we have in Malcolm Marks,
But
and
Mark's
then
not here again.
he's not here. That's the thing. You see, is that where if those guys had to get injured, who's the next guy? Skara, okay, look, he's solid enough, but I don't
Any given week, Skara might not be there either.
exactly, and occasionally he might also throw the skew line out and may not be secure in our position. So, like I agree with you there that we are a bit light, in terms of imposing number twos, because I think for a while now we've had imposing number twos that have come in, and we don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that edge there. That's an important position. I
That's the
think.
thing. I
To
think Dylan Richardson's he's got that, but he just
oh,
needs. I think
okay,
he just needs a bit more of game time. And
yeah.
yeah,
I guess we'll
so
give him a shot.
yeah, second half, green team, Yanchi's interception, class again. You know, everything. I mean, Damian Williams at this point was having a bit of a shocker. Everything went wrong for him. The missed kicks, the frustration, the injury, the yellow card.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, you name it. Like I feel like I feel like I feel like you know what you're saying is that calm hand. I feel like he was trying to single-handedly bring his team back into it, you know, and 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 he was just trying to. I feel like he was just trying to do too much, uh, and overplay his hand. Yeah, it was. You could argue it was disastrous for him, in that second half, the wheels just came off, yeah, I think the less we talk about that, the better, because it's one of those performances to forget. It happens. It happens, but I think he'll definitely bounce back from this, and I think it'll be good to see him bounce back from that. To see him actually play like himself more than anything. I think that's the most important thing. He must be himself, man. He must be you.
So that Lombard link up, Nohamba, Pentler for the try. It
Oof.
was some good link up play. Great stuff. Like you said, it's just those guys. That's when you start to see the flair coming in.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you know what I liked about that play is how, I don't know if you saw how Nahamba, when you put that little chip through, it's almost like he faded away,
Yeah,
and it's almost like put it through and he faded away, but it was just pinpoint in that space where it gave Pengley a chance to chase that. And look, everybody was beat there, that's why Williams had to hold him. He was just like, nah, buddy, you can beat me on the chase, but it's not going to happen, not today, not today. But it looked good, and you can see that potentially we have the attributes to sort of break a game. We have the players to break a game. and exploit those opportunities when they do come in. I think it's just a matter of us just honing in on those finer skills with ball in hand. Yeah, it looked like it was wet as well. Look, there wasn't really much opportunity for that, but whenever the chance did come, it looked good. It was promising signs, I would say.
And for as much as we've talked about Nohamba, I think we have the first contender for our segment, our weekly segment of Tackle That Man.
Tackle that man.
You've got to tackle that man. I think Herschel Janssens has got to tackle. You've got to tackle Francois Steyn there. You've got to tackle that man.
You've got to, but geez, what a run! What a run! He shrugged him off like, yeah. It really looked like a grown man playing against a child. Yeah. Didn't look good. I know he's a halfback, but I mean, geez, if you put yourself there, you got to make the tackle. You got to tackle that man.
That's the thing. In that situation, you can see next week's highlights. You can see it. You can see that this thing is going to be all over social media. So I mean, you can see Francois Steyn running at you, but you can also see next week when guys are making memes and there's highlights and it's on Super Sport Blitz going over and over again. So I think you got to tackle that man for your own sake.
You've got to. But look, I think just that second half as well, you could sort of almost see how that green team they were sure. They asserted themselves. Obviously the yellow card did help them. You sort of lift their confidence because they knew, okay, gold is a man down. So we're going to try and put these guys away. And that's where the class all around, that team, that's where you just saw. It just shone through, it shone through. Although, I felt from me when the changes did come on, like when...
Yeah, around that 15-minute mark.
Yeah, when I feel like Embrus Papiri didn't really help himself, to be honest. I don't know what's going on with him, but I feel like he didn't help himself, and when he made, there's a fundamental error, basic error when he, where the feed and the scrum straight underneath, the skew there. Yes, there were no points scored from that, but I just feel like it didn't help, it really didn't help his cause in sort of establishing himself in the national setup, and in contrast, to be honest, when you look at a guy like Ivan van Zyl, yes, as much as the team that he was playing for, Gold, were struggling on the day when he came on, he did sort of, you could see that he's a bit more confident than Papir. He just looks like he's a guy that is being backed. So yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's one of those things that you can't really put your finger on with Embrus Papiri in terms of what's going on.
I felt like it was a good combo with him and Juan Rowe.
Augustus, oh man, look,
I felt like it was a good 8-9 combo. It wasn't. It's not bad getting Vermeulen off with Nohamba and those two coming on.
Yeah, it isn't bad, but look. Quarters for me still, it's not a bad combination, yes. But
you're selling your stock. You're selling your Papir stock.
Look, dude, I wouldn't pick that. Look, at the moment, I wouldn't pick him because as much as, yes, he is talented, he's got the potential. I just don't feel like he's delivering on that right now. That's why I say I don't know what's going on with him, to be honest. I'm not too sure, But then you compare, even arguing, even a guy like Mani Libok when he came on, I didn't really see much from him. I guess the game didn't go his way in that sense when he was on, but I didn't see much from him in that sense. Where guys you can say that you did see something from, like you say, is for me, like I said, Thomas du Toit when he came on, he did bring a bit of that stability, in the number 3.
Van der Mesh, that's a unit. That's
Van der Mesh,
that's a one-man army.
And he looked good. He looked good, and that's why
he looked unfit, but he looked good.
That's the scary thing, is that didn't look like he was at his optimal fitness, but just his carries as well and his go forward that he was getting and his physicality that he brought on, I feel like he really showed that, okay, he can definitely, he's definitely a guy that will slot in seamlessly in the international stage. And not forgetting Schickeling's sort of impact on that game as a tight forward. I feel like
Yeah,
he was a force,
I think he's pushing for a starting spot.
Yeah, Hiron Andrews, yeah, look, he was all right.
He was in the middle. He's sort of in the middle between Murat and, let's say, Ari. He had better moments.
Yeah, he did have better moments, but the question is, do you see him as an international 5? I don't think so, to be honest. Yes, as much as I'm a Sharks guy, with that, I don't see that. I don't see that in him. Maybe, yes, he's good in the lineouts and things like that. With the guys around him, with the guys that were around him, it was very difficult for him to play bad. It was very difficult. It was very difficult for him to play bad. Otherwise they're gonna say, no, you must get off now. So yeah. But then you talk about Van der Mesh, you talk about Augustus when he came on, you talk about Junior Pokomelo when he came on. Look, I feel like he didn't look out of place at all. He didn't look out of place at all. Junior Pokomelo coming in there, I liked him. I liked the look of him. I like the look of. It pains me to say this. Cade Voleta.
It pains you. How can it pain you?
Do you know why it pains?
Wait, before we get into it, this is the first I've seen him. This is the first I've seen him. And number one, he looks the part.
Okay.
He looks the part. He's sizable as well. He's a stallion. He's a stallion. Cade the Stallion.
Cade the Stallion. Oh, wow. No, look, Goddess, I don't doubt that. Look, I saw him play for, I think, Paul Roos. He also played Western Province, Craven Week, and I think under 21s as well. He's a good player. He's a promising prospect. The reason why I say it pains me is because the way I understood it, I don't know, just from reading reports, I thought that he was supposed to be contracted to Montpellier or something like that.
Yeah, he went to Montpellier, and then because of this whole thing, he had to come back.
Yeah, and it just sounded or appeared as if he was, gearing up to sort of change allegiance and eventually one day qualify and play for France. That's why I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder with him, if I can say it like that. But I'm glad he's staying at home, So as much as it pains me, I'm glad that he's staying at home, and maybe I'll get to like him as it goes along, So I'll need to.
No, I really like him. That's my fly half.
No, look, he's good. I'm not gonna take that away from him. He's good. He's solid. If you had to ask me now, if we had to pick based on this past weekend to say, okay, who's gonna back up Alton Yankees? If we're looking at just this group at 10, then Cade Voleta is the first guy that comes.
If we're talking Springbok selections, like, okay, now we must pick now. He stepped over Willemse.
Yeah.
And he played, what did he play for? 15 minutes.
Yes. You see,
you look at a guy like Lobok, and you also read like, been around. I like Lobok, but I feel like he's been messed around so much and put in bad situations. This guy comes 15 minutes. He's also ahead of you already.
Yeah, you see. So, yeah,
you gotta take your chances before they pass you by. He took his chance.
He took his chance, and he stuck his hand. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him being more involved in the mix. I'll be happy to see that. As much as I say, I had that little bit of an issue with him. I don't know what personal decisions they were on about, but anyway, I can't fault the guy. Can't fault the guy. I can't fault the guy. I mean, I'm a patriot. That's why. I was just like, you wanted to go to France. Now because of COVID, you're forced to stay home. And look, I'm glad they've locked him in now because now he's got a taste of the environment. So I think he'll think twice before he wants to sort of commit elsewhere because I think he can see his pathway into.
I don't know. I feel like maybe it was one of those situations where they go and come back. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't, from reading what I've read as well.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily think it was a switching of allegiance more as I thought it was a chance to, sort
Yeah.
of, it's a graduate program of sorts. You learn to play
Yeah.
Northern Hemisphere rugby while
Mm.
getting paid. I mean, look at it this way. For him, if he didn't go,
Mm.
he would have been in the Western Province under 21s. He would have been behind, maybe third string fly half.
Mm.
Would he have got a Stormers cap? So from that
Yeah.
point of view, I can see how it would benefit you going there, playing for 2-3 years, and then coming back. When, let's say, a fly half decides to leave South Africa, and
Yeah.
opportunities
Yeah.
become available. So that's
Yeah.
what I thought it was more of. But I mean, I could be wrong. We're both reading the same thing. We don't know. We don't
Yeah,
know.
true. But look, glad that he's still involved in the mix. And I think before we forget about these other guys that came on. I know you're too busy going on about the gold team, the green team, because they won and they have most of our guys, in there. A guy like Jason Jenkins, I feel like he didn't do himself a disservice when
I
he
felt
came
like you
on
should
as
have
well.
started
I actually feel like he
over
could have
Hiram
started ahead of.
Andrews.
No, but Jenkins was in the gold team, so I
Oh,
think
sorry.
over Murat, he
Yeah.
could have started over Murat. I feel like in that sense, and he's got more experience. I feel,
And I felt like
so
he was very strong last week.
yeah, and that's why I feel like that guy he could have, eclipsed him. A guy like Vincent Chituka from the Lions. Look, as well, when he came on, you could see that he's got something about him. He works. He puts himself in this
Yeah, no,
position where
he's
he can
another
compete to the
workhorse.
breakdown. So in that regard, I feel like he did well when he came off the bench.
He's a Hilux,
He's gonna work, man. He's gonna work. He's gonna carry the load, and you can see why he broke into that Lions team in Super Rugby, because even in Super Rugby, he was. I feel like for the Lions, he was doing well, as a seven.
Yeah, no, he gets meters. He gets meters and he gets involved, and I think it's very important, in that role. It's
True,
basic. It's basic, but at the same time, he doesn't do many things wrong.
wrong.
Just gets involved. He gets involved and he gets his meters.
Yeah.
I mean, his game will obviously develop as he gets older, but for now, I feel like it's good enough, and I feel, looking at sevens, I feel like, in the pecking order, it's probably Arno Buerta and then,
and then him.
Yeah.
I don't feel like yes, the Zomcar has got all that experience and things like that, but I don't. Yeah, I don't wanna write him off, but I just don't feel like going forward is we don't how can I say, we don't need him as much, without putting the guy down, but I don't feel like we really need him, because I didn't see I didn't see that experience coming into play, in this game. So yes, as much as it was sort of an exhibition, but I didn't see that, so definitely Chituka sort of, for me, he eclipsed him in that regard. And to some degree also eclipses a bit of Marco van Staden as well. Even Noche he eclipses him, and yeah, talking about that goal team, the bench with the guys like, look, Curran Bosch when he came on, look, he tried, but
Cohen Bosch, your team is behind by how many, and you're on a kick for poles.
Look, I don't think maybe that was his decision.
It was him. It was him.
I think it was his decision. I thought it was I could sort of understand what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to get the scoreboard to tick over. But then again, if that's the goal, kick your goal. Execute, get the 3 points. Make us feel that okay, at least we are closer than we were, even though we are behind. And I don't feel like he did that.
Also, my thing that I feel like Kate the Stallion, when he was there, there's a feeling of likability. You know,
Yeah.
he comes in, he steps in. The guys around him have sort of, they like him, so they've got his back. Cohen Bosch comes in, and you don't necessarily feel that. You don't feel like the pack is behind him. You don't feel
Yeah.
like the confidence is there. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the other guys are running trick plays where they're putting Schickerling on the wing, and you know, if they didn't trust him, they wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, true. You know, and I kind of liked. I actually kind of liked that trick play. You know, that it was interesting because when you think about it, that it's mixing our strengths from a South African
I've
rugby
seen them use
perspective.
it
You know,
before, I'm sure.
yeah, it was in the line out, and then the bomb,
Yeah.
and then you're using a tall timber. You know, you've got a lock and a loose forward out wide there. You know, and putting pressure on the back three player, knowing that okay, if he does secure that high ball, you know, somebody is going to make a tackle and somebody's going to try to be over the ball. You know, it's an interesting sort of variation, and for me, it just shows that I feel like our coaching group and players that we have, there's a lot of sort of thought process that goes into the game, and like I'd like to see us building on from this to sort of trying to really be a dominant force in world rugby, and not just win the World Cup, you know, but I mean, not knowing whether or not we're going to compete in the championship, but really sort of, you know, put a spanner in the wheel works, you know, and defend the
I think
rugby
I think it
championship
shows that we've got more depth than we maybe have had,
before.
before. Yeah, the
Mm,
years leading up, where you're almost in a panic to say who's next man up, and I think
yeah,
that it was a brilliant exercise in that thing of showing who's shaky, who's got the steady hand.
yeah.
So, those were my
Talk about
takeaways. Yeah,
Yeah, talk about like James Fenter is also at the Sharks. I think he was at the Lions before.
yeah,
I didn't really maybe the game at that time when he was on
yeah.
it wasn't really going his way. He didn't have the opportunity to make that impact. Same with Werner Kok. You know, look, Werner Kok is a good player, but I just don't feel like he had opportunities to influence so much. Even Manny Russ as well. As much as I think that those guys are solid players, maybe they just didn't. The opportunities didn't come their way for them
Yeah,
to
didn't have a lot
to
of
impose
time.
themselves at that stage of where the game was at. You know, so overall, though, like I fully agree with you. You know, in terms of we do look good. You know, and the depth is definitely there. I feel like we're in a healthier position, and now it's just a matter of translating that position into real dominance. You know, I think that's going to be the trick now is with these players, all of them staying hungry. You know, not just the ones that were in the green and gold or that were in the match day 25s, but even the ones in the broader sort
Yeah,
of group and
there
the
were
broader
guys that
framework.
wanted to be there, definitely.
The hunger. That's what I like about that is that it feels like there is that hunger now. Because everyone that has gotten a taste, people, the guys that haven't been there before, there's definitely that hunger. And I'd say, and I'm hoping for this as a Springbok fan that we can sort of come into an era now where our rugby dominates for a sustained period, not just going into a World Cup and maybe the year after a World Cup and then
Yeah,
afterwards we dip again. You know, exactly what when Rassi came in and after he won the World Cup, what he said is it doesn't want us to always win the World Cup every 12 years, wants us to always be at the top. And for me, I see this as an opportunity, with New Zealand, they're starting afresh, in terms of coaching group and everything. Australia also starting afresh as well, and I feel like we're in prime position now to really, smack everybody in the mouth and just put their face in the dirt every time we play against them, and and just keep on reminding them that the green machine is too much. They can't live with us. That's what for me as a fan. That's what I want to see. Is I want to see teams not being able to live with the Springboks on any given day in any climate, any venue.
mm.
For me that if this whole exercise translates to that, in the future, then for me that'll be true success, a real sort of milestone, I think.
Man of the match for you?
Man of the match. Oof. I'd have to say geez, you're gonna say I'm biased, but you're gonna say I'm biased. Uh, I'm picking Nohamba as my man of the match. I'm picking him as my man of the match because I feel like he commanded the way he was. He wasn't even afraid. He didn't care that Dwayne Vermeulen is there. He's like, no, I know
Yeah, it's almost
you're
that how you're talking about going and smacking guys in the face. It's an arrogance about his play. He was
yeah,
all
yeah,
over Herschel Yanchis. He made him look second. He made him look second best.
yeah. And I just like the way like he was commanding the guys. With these box kicks, say, hey, be over here. I want to kick this ball. You come over here. Kicks the ball. He chases. He was. I feel like he was commanding on the
Yeah.
day. And a part of that is what helped Green sort of get into that game and eventually be in a position to win. So for me, I'll go for him because they weren't really standout. So, but he stood out for me. So I'm going with him. I backed him from the beginning, and I'm still backing him now.
For me, I have to give it to Kitsov. He
Okay.
was brilliant in the scrums, turnovers. I felt like he was just a commanding force. I mean, you look at those scrums, you look at those turnovers. Those are things that equal points in games.
Yeah.
You know, I think Ox and him they really turned up, but Kitsov for me because he had the turnovers.
Yeah.
I felt like he
Just
was
show,
he was he was above Ox, but I feel like he had the biggest impact on the game.
yeah.
In terms of
Yeah.
those turnovers, in terms of the scrums. I mean, those are things that swing games.
True. True. I can't fault. I can't fault that decision. Although I feel Nohamba number one, and then Schickeling would be second. If we had to give them first, second, third, yeah. If we let's talk gold, Nohamba number one, Schickeling second, then Pengle comes in with the bronze, because
Yeah,
he podiums over there, and then on the gold side, Kitsov, yes, number one. And then would say Ori comes in for me
yeah.
at number two, and then I'd say, geez,
I feel
podium. I'd
bad
say,
for because was like, they put him on an island. They gave
yeah.
him two toothpicks and an elastic band and said, "Make a plane and go home." He had nothing. He had nothing. And
Yeah,
they
true.
expected him you know, to find
But
his.
you still saw his class though, at the
That's what I'm
like
saying.
his
At the end, he made a plane out of what he was given, and he found his.
yeah.
He almost found his way. He didn't score. He almost found his way home, but he just needs more help, man.
Yeah, true, so he does, so that's why like maybe I'll give him the podium there with the gold team, but yeah, I can't fault your man of the match Kitsov. He did have an impact, a big impact, particularly for gold team. Put it in a test match situation, that's 3 points. That's 3 points. And
Yeah.
and we win the game. So yeah, I can't fault that. Courts, I can agree, but still,
Yeah.
Nohamba is my number one.
And that beard, the beard is also commanding. It's
Yeah. You can see, man, they got that little guy beard. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, man.
And yeah, I think that's where we're gonna call it for today. I've seen the lineups for next week coming out slowly, slowly. Excited for some more rugby.
Yeah, I think for this Super Rugby Unlocked, I think once all the lineups are confirmed, we probably should do a preview of those and just do a preview of those guys. See where the matchups go, make our picks, and then we'll compare our picks in the coming week and see who's making the right picks here. You know what I mean?
Get those betway slips, eh?
You know what I mean? Yeah. All the guys, you guys must subscribe, must like, must share, and take the tips. Go to Betway. I'm telling you, we're not sponsoring. They're not sponsoring us, but we're just saying, go and bet on the picks that we make and see what you come out with. So yeah, I think we'll do that. Yeah, I don't know what you think, there, Courts.
Yep. And that's it this week for the Dummy Switch Pod. Chris,
Yeah.
thank you for
Thanks,
turning
Courts.
up and talking with me. And let's talk again next week.
Yeah, always. I'm always up for rugby chat quotes. You know this. So yeah, let's keep it going, and then yeah, man, let's talk next week. And again, like I keep on saying, like, subscribe, and you must share with your friends. We're talking rugby here from a South African context, so yeah, let's get it out there.
All right. Thanks and cheers, man.
Cheers.